What is up? Welcome to week 17 and the final instance of the 2025 WireTapped season. Today, depending on how last night went, is either one of the happiest days of your life or one of the worst days of your life. But the fact of the matter is this. There are two managers in your league that week 17 is very important for. Hopefully you're one of them. It's time to do waivers. It's slim pickings, but there are some decent options. Let's talk about them. I had a whole intro planned.
That was the most somber intro I've ever heard you do, dude.
Oh, I had a whole second part planned out, but CH Fantasy Lab has ruined my day already. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen and we're going to talk about it. In my home league, which I've got you all very invested in, I lost by 0.6. If Mr. Pinheiro had half a yard more on that 60-yard field goal, I would have won by 5 points because that is 5 points in my league. Thanks, Fantasy Lab. I was going to try to be nice today. Now I'm done not being nice to anybody. I'm Ryan. He's Josh. This is WireTapped. This is our weekly waiver wire show. It is week 17, which means you're probably in a championship. You probably should go with the players on your bench. But Josh, we've talked about this before the show, and we're going to get into the show. There's still a couple of interesting names floating out there on waiver wires right now.
Yeah, there's a few, and quite a few traps as well, which we'll definitely talk about here in a bit.
Yeah, I feel like it's more traps than anything else, but I'm not going to be completely negative today. My good friend, I told Austin the story earlier today. I'll tell it live on air. This human being who I was facing this week, I have known him longer than anybody I'm not related to. We met each other in first grade because our last names are W-A and W-E, and we lined up in alphabetical order. We've been best friends ever since. So I have known no human being longer on this planet than this guy. And I told him that I want to be happy for him, but today I still have to hate him. And then tomorrow I'll be happy for him. But I'm not going to lie to you. It will crush him to extents I could never fathom. If there's a stat correction tonight, I will be the happiest person ever, and you guys will get a completely different Ryan tomorrow on Wednesday's show. Josh, as you so aptly pointed out, as we move into week 17, there's not a ton of news and notes. We kind of covered it yesterday. I guess the one thing we need to talk about, DK Metcalf is looking at a 2-game suspension. Josh, I don't know if you've had a chance to look into this at all, but my question about this DK Metcalf thing, if he appeals, does he get to play this week? Because if he appeals, it's going to drop to a 1-game suspension if he wins. Will he get to play this week? Do you have anything on this? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this, Josh. I just didn't know if you picked up anything I did.
No, everything that I've read is that the suspension is has gone through.
It's done. Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can find something.
While Josh is looking that up, I'm just going to quickly run through the chat. This is a good time of year just to be like, thank you guys. You guys have rode with us for so long. This has probably been our most popular show of the year. I see Caesar in the chat, Jonathan Santiago, Chris Molina. We'll get you up on screen in a bit. Obviously, Fantasy Labs has become a co-host of this show. Make sure I'm not missing anybody here as I'm scrolling through. Keenan, Zach, glad to have all you guys. And I'm sure there's a bunch of you also that aren't in the chat right now. Quick reminder, hit subscribe if you can. If you haven't subscribed to us over on YouTube, we are steadily climbing up towards 1,800. How many more?
14 more to 1,800.
So we're at 1,786 right now. Help us get there to 1,800. That's been Josh's goal this entire season, was hitting 1,800. So go tell 14 of your friends if they're not watching already. I know you want to keep us your little secret, but I promise you, it'll be fine. Let them watch the show as well. But no, in all seriousness, we appreciate each and every one of you. We appreciate you tuning in with me and Josh every Monday, every Tuesday. It's been a wild ride. Just a quick reminder, Club Fantasy is a year-round show and a year-round fantasy podcast. We will be live again tomorrow to help you guys with your championships. We are going to take week 18 off. with work schedules and it being New Year's Eve and it being week 18, we decided that was going to be a week we're going to take off this year. But for the most part, we're going to be live on your airwaves all the time. My DFS show is continuing through the playoffs, but I want to end this where I started with thank you guys. Like, seriously, it's been fun answering all your questions. We put this show sheet together knowing we're never going to get to it because this show is about you folks and we want to keep it going that way. Josh, what do you got for me on the DK Metcalf stuff?
Yeah, so he has appealed. It'll be heard this week.
Well, no, today. Okay.
More than likely. So I doubt if they do anything, they would decrease the suspension, but I think the bigger point here is how impactful this is for Metcalf because
incentives.
Well, it's not necessarily incentives, but it's language within his contract that he signed with the Steelers. So if the suspension is upheld, which they haven't reversed any of these suspensions, I don't believe this season.
I could see this one getting bounced down to 1. It sounds like there may be some. There
is some he said, she said here. Because apparently these two actually have a history.
I read that this morning.
Which I find really interesting. But as it stands right now, losing Metcalf will forfeit 2 game salaries, which would total just over $555,000. So that's the first big thing. But the second part of this domino is the suspension would also void $45 million in future guaranteed money out of Metcalf.
No.
Yep.
45 million?
Yep. So this is a really impactful suspension if it's upheld. Again, it's language that the Steelers put into Metcalf's contract. And you know what? Probably you can blame Antonio Brown and George Pickens and Deontay Johnson in some level of shape or form.
Well,
but also Metcalf's antics with Seattle over the
years. I didn't know this was the direction the show was going to go, but pour one out for DK Metcalf's accountant. That is rough.
And his agents.
Well, yeah, absolutely. All right, Josh, let's move into the chat. They already got things popping, as they always do. First and foremost, I gave him a little bit of a hard time yesterday because I made yesterday's show all about me. Shout out to Chris Molina, takes down the father-in-law by 3.5 points. I don't know if that was the wisest decision. Maybe you let father-in-law win the league, but we're not in the we're not in the business of letting people win. Shout out, Chris. Congratulations, my friend. Jonathan Santiago, good morning. Glad to still be here for week 17. Hopefully you're not just here with us. Hopefully you're in your league and you have a question next. So I'm guessing you are. Congratulations. Jonathan says he has to stream tight end for the championship. Are we going Taysom Hill, Jawan Johnson, Hunter Henry, or Brenton Strange? Josh, this is essentially going to be the streaming list this week. And I find Taysom Hill mad interesting. I think there is something to the stories we've been hearing that what we saw from Taysom Hill was a lot about it being his last game in New Orleans. I love Brenton Strange this week. I understand Trevor Lawrence is spreading the ball. To me, this is Johnson or Strange. As of now, I'm leading Brenton Strange.
I as well would lean Brenton Strange. We can talk about this a little bit later, but we saw what George Kittle just did on Monday night, right?
Literally what I said on the DFS show this morning.
What else do you want?
Yeah.
And Indy's defense right now, like this trajectory of this team has just plummeted. Absolutely plummeted.
Yeah. And Kittle did what he did in 3 quarters. Let's be very clear about that. So,
yeah.
Caesar, 14 leagues, 2 championships. Don't say only. First of all, I'm in only 2 championships, and I'm not a loser. Caesar, not that you called yourself a loser, but anyway, you should feel good. 2 championships is awesome.
I was going to say I made it in 2, I believe, out of 20 technically, and I'm lumping in like the charity leagues and stuff in there too. But
I should be happier than I am. The home league is always rough. My most expensive league, I'm in the championship. If I win this championship, it literally pays for all of my fantasy this entire season. So not a bad day to break even. Jonathan Santiago, great to be in the championship after he survived ARSB, Jacobs, and the Colby trap. Don't. Oh, you said thank the fantasy gods. I say don't thank us when it comes to Colby Parkinson because that's me trying to kill everybody there. Caesar facing a Broncos fan who rosters Bo Nix, RJ Harvey, and the Broncos defense. Are they cooked? Will the Chiefs even try? This is a rough situation to be in, Josh.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to feast on a third string quarterback. That defense could get them 25 in all honesty. I don't know that both Nix and Harvey are going to pop. I would wager it's probably going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Unless, Nix jumps out, throws 3 touchdowns, and then they bring in the backup and then they just ride Harvey. In which case, then, you could end up getting 75 from all 3. But it's a good thing for them, not so great for you on the surface, Caesar. That's for sure.
And I think Zach gives us the perfect segue into my top 5. He said, just looked at his running backs and he is fucked. And Josh, I had a feeling when I wrote the article this morning, that was going to be a lot of people's sentiments. And so that is why I decided for the top 5 waiver ads to kind of lean heavily into running backs. That's where we're going to jump right now for the top 5 week 17 waiver ads. Full article available at clubfantasyffl.com. Last week, my cover athlete, well, he didn't make the cover, but regardless, Trevor Lawrence, the QB1 for the second straight week in a row. Jacoby Brissett was awful. Blake Corum was still good, the cover athlete. Michael Carter was not, but I told you that was a tough matchup. Luther Burton didn't play, and my tight ends just completely shit the bed. But as I mentioned, Josh, I figured we're seeing people lose running backs this week, specifically Travian Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. So I wanted to lead off with a running back. And this is actually a product of me getting to watch the games a little bit more this past Sunday. Tyjae Spears is so fast. I was incredibly impressed by what I saw from him this week. I'm going to let you jump in here, but I'm just saying with this iteration of this Titans offense, he has been heavily involved, and this is a matchup I think could work out very, very well for him against New Orleans.
Yeah. Remember last year when Tyjae Spears absolutely popped over the last 3 games of the season?
Oh, I didn't, but I do now.
RB5 those final 3 weeks of the season. Big pop week here in week 16. Scores a touchdown. First game this season with 10 or more carries. Tax on 5 for 53 receiving.
That's the most important part.
This is how fantasy managers get trapped into looking at Tyjae Spears for the next year. But we're not paying attention to 2026 right now.
Nope.
Paying attention to 2025. The Saints, as a overall defense, have actually been really good this year. Brandon Staley's got them playing much better than their talent would suggest. But when it comes to what they're giving up to running backs, especially since week 12, they're allowing 110 rush yards per game, strictly to the running back position. How much will be split between Pollard and Spears is really going to be the big question here, because they do tend to limit what backs do out of the backfield. They only allow 29 receiving yards. Okay.
Interesting.
So there's some room for upside here. And what I find most intriguing about this Saints and Titans matchup, both teams young quarterbacks, both teams trying to end this season on a high note.
Yeah.
This game being in Tennessee obviously would favor the Titans, seeing as the Saints play in a dome. Now they're going outside. Tyler Shuck has been really fucking good the last month, 6 weeks of the season.
He also happened to play his college ball in Louisville, not far from where this game
and there's that, right? So I don't think being outside is going to affect him much, or really the Saints as a whole. But Cam Ward is starting to come into his own.
He really is.
And he's devoid of weapons. Tyjae Spears is showing that he can be a weapon. So it makes me think that they want to use him as much as they can down the stretch, because, again, this is a team that's playing for 2026. This is all about talent evaluation. Where does Tyjae Spears fit? Do they move on or keep Tony Pollard, right? There's all these components that fit into this, and I think that Spears can have that, top 15 ceiling and makes him a viable flex option.
Yeah. Yeah. I like everything we've seen from both of these teams. I actually mentioned that on our DFS show today, that I wanted to give a shout out to the Titans and Saints, that for the last month, they've really rallied around their rookie quarterbacks when they're playing meaningless games this season, and who've always right on time.
I mean, we lost to Louisville this year. The Hurricanes did. with a completely different quarterback. This is not about the quarterback position. It's about our defense. Miami Hurricanes defense was the worst in the nation last year. That is the complete opposite this year. That had nothing to do with Cam Ward. I promise you. Take the W, Hoove, but that wasn't because Shuck was good. I promise you.
It occurs to me I'm out of sorts today. I did 2 shows. Normally, I give you guys my entire top 5 list. We've just been talking about Tyjae Spears, the cover guy, this whole time. The rest of the top 5, I actually kind of like the way that flowed. Have to remember that for next year. Is Chris Rodriguez, Mac Hollins, Raheim Sanders. We'll explain who that is in a moment, and Shamiri DK. Austin, sorry. Just did a show with Austin this morning. Josh, the 2 wide receivers on this list, Hollins and DK, both kind of desperation plays. If I had to choose between the two, we're going to get back to the running backs, but if I had to choose between the two, Mac Hollins seems to eat when Quinshon Judkins misses games, and it seems like Quinshon Judkins is out with a concussion and is likely to miss this game. If I'm choosing between these two and I don't get anything for kick return yards, I'm going Mac Hollins. If there's any special teams aspect, first of all, DK is already rostered in those leagues, but that's where I would lead Shamiri DK.
Yeah, Demario Douglas picked up an injury tag too from that game. I believe he left early as well.
Yeah.
Austin
even said he thought Stephon Diggs might have got banged up a little bit in that game.
Well, yeah, I mean, he snuck out of the back of the blue tent, right? Like that was the whole, bit from from the game. So yeah, I mean, look, it's the Jets. They're a team in shambles right now. Yep. Like you want every piece of that. And quite frankly, there's not any need really for the Patriots to put Stephon Diggs out there to a point where they need him for 6 for 100.
Yeah.
Let the backups do their thing. And while Mac Hollins is very much in that rotation, he's still a backup.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And he'll be the one to take advantage of this week because they are going to put Drake May out there. Correct. Josh, Raheim Rocket Sanders is probably a name not a lot of folks are familiar with unless they are draft aficionados. Couldn't latch on with the Chargers, but seems to have found a home in Cleveland, at least for the time being. And that home just got a whole lot larger after what happened in week 16.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, ultimately, how this Browns running back room takes shape because Dylan Sampson has missed the past 2 games with calf and hand injuries. Yeah. There's a chance that he returns this week. He was the guy that they drafted in the same draft class as Quinshon Judkins. We saw him pop in week 1, especially as a receiving back out of the backfield. Many people kind of feel like that's ultimately going to be his role. Now, without Judkins, maybe he steps up into more volume, or maybe they give the rock to Sanders and they let Sampson kind of play that complementary role, right? Because we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Teams will keep a guy in one role that they designed him for and then promote the 3rd or 4th string guy into that lead role, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So
it's how we predicted Samani Vidal.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of questions there with ultimately how Sanders will be deployed, but let's also not discount Travion Williams is on this team as well and will get some run here.
Yeah.
So without, like, if Sampson misses this game, now you're looking at a Sanders and Williams tandem. Sanders, I think, then gets the lead game. Williams will get more of that pass down role. Pittsburgh, since week 12, has been a fucking sieve to running backs. They're allowing 105
until week 16.
Yeah. Over the last 4 weeks, it's been not great. It's very middle of the road, but they're also very susceptible to running backs out of the backfield. That's where they get burned the most.
Yep.
Which makes me think that Sanders might be the trap play here.
I love that.
Because he's not going to be the guy catching passes. He's going to be more of the guy in between the tackles.
That's fair.
Up the middle and that sort of thing. So while Pittsburgh does yield some rushing yards, Sampson or Williams would be the guys that ultimately you probably want to lean on here because of their pass game.
I love that. Great context there, Josh, because I noticed that when you looked at the Lions running backs last week, they couldn't get anything going on the road or on the ground rather. And if Jahmyr
Gibbs had 10 catches,
but Jahmyr get 15 targets and 10 catches, like that lends itself to Dylan Sampson being very, very influential in this game. And let's not pretend that the best thing that could happen to the Cleveland Browns this week. This is their Super Bowl, plain and simple. If you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, that's enormous for the Cleveland Browns. Full article on the website, folks. Tyjae Spears, Chris Rodriguez, 2 starting running. Well, Chris Rodriguez is a starter. I just like Spears because he's more out of the backfield. Those are your two primary targets at running back. Matt Collins, your primary target at wide receiver. And if you're desperate, Raheim Sanders, Shamiri DK. Again, full article at clubfantasyffl.com. Back to the chat. Keenan has Jacoby Brissett, Josh. But wants to know if we would drop Lamar for Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy. And
yes.
We've been saying this for a while. And then who would we start of those three?
T-Law.
Keenan, there's not a whole lot of analysis. Trevor Lawrence is playing out of his mind and now gets to play an eliminated Colts team in a game that he still needs to win. Trevor Lawrence is going to feast this week. That is your quarterback for the championship game.
Yep. Yeah. So, I just want to double check this because I find it rather interesting. Trevor Lawrence since week 12, since week 11, since week 10, since week 10 is the QB1 in fantasy football. Since week 9, the QB2.
I'll remind you folks that it's week 17. That's a very long time that Trevor Lawrence has been the QB1.
He is balling right now. And he already beat up on the Colts once 2 weeks ago.
Marvin, don't come in here making us blush. You are awesome, Marvin Eloquent. If you guys are not following Marvin, make sure you do so. We appreciate you as well. Happy championship week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. However you support this week, have fun with it. I know Marvin's in some championships.
I woke up to a text from Marvin for sending me the officially released Doomsday trailer, and I was like, that's why I love this guy.
Oh, did it get released today finally?
Yeah. So apparently what they're doing is they're making you go see Avatar first, and then a week later when they switch to the next trailer, they're putting it on Twitter. So for the people that actually can wait, it's there for you.
There you go. For those who don't know, Josh considered leaving the show in the middle of the show last week so that he could go watch this trailer. It was a tough battle for him to help you guys with waivers last week.
It really was.
Zach has to start RJ Harvey. You absolutely do. He also has Breece Hall, Amari Hampton, and Woody Marks if he plays. Who are we giving the second spot to? Josh, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Amari Hampton, though. New England is susceptible to the run, and that makes Breece Hall a little bit more interesting, but it's still that Jets offense.
Yeah, it's the Jets offense. I'm not touching them with a 10-foot pole. Kind of think you have to go with Hampton. I get it. It's the Texans. Look what Ashton Genty just did.
Yeah.
Like, they're not invincible.
Nope.
And the way that the Chargers, like, and again, this is a game, like, there's 6 teams out of 7 that could be the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, that is how tight the AFC is right now.
Yeah.
It is all hands on deck. It is full go, firepower, you name it, they're bringing the house, right? So I'm perfectly fine leaning on Hampton. Like, he is a huge part of the Chargers offense. They need him to show up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Hampton is going to do what Ashton Genty just did. Like, that is very much a team that overlooked an opponent because they knew what was on the horizon.
Yeah.
Maybe Hampton gets 20 touches, and if he does, he's going to give you top 15 numbers this week.
There you go. That's where I stand as well. I'm letting Marvin cut the line because he's a busy guy and we don't get a lot of questions from Marvin. I think this is a great question. Would we trust Jackson Dart after last week's dud, or are we going Jacoby Brissett? I don't think these two things have to be mutually exclusive. I'm not down on Dart after last week, Josh. I actually called that dud of a game. Let me be clear. I did not call 0 fantasy points dud, but I did say it was going to be a rough week. I am still playing Jacoby Brissett in the Bengals over Jackson Dart this week. I'm not ready to put my fantasy hopes on Jackson Dart's shoulders. So,
bro, Jackson Dart gets the Raiders.
That's fine. CJ Stroud was not all that impressive last week. Just saying.
CJ Stroud doesn't do with his legs what Jackson Dart does.
You know what? You said the same thing about why Dart was going to be okay versus Minnesota, Josh, and he was.
Yeah, well, then they decided to not let him do anything.
I do love that George chimes in right after Marvin. It's like, can we talk about how horrible Jackson Dart was? So me and Austin have done 2 DFS shows together already this week, and this has come up. So Jackson Dart did not throw a pass in the first quarter, had 1 completion at halftime, and finished the game with 15 total passes. This is not just a Jackson Dart problem, Josh. This was a play calling problem against a great defense. A weird game for the Giants, plain and simple.
Yeah, and honestly, it 100%. total shit show of a game. But what I'm like, when you go through and you look at what Jackson Dart has done over the last month, like he's been perfectly fine as a starting quarterback. 22 in week 15, 13.6 in week 13. And then, of course, pre-concussion 27, 26. So like,
he was balling.
It's really just been, the last couple of weeks or last few games. But like, I mean, to me, I'm just chalking this up to a good defense that this was the shitty game plan that Mike Kafka decided to put together.
Yeah.
He gets the Raiders. He tore up Washington. They got a bad defense. He balled out against Chicago and San Francisco. Again, this is all like pre-concussion stuff. But like, yeah. I would be more than happy to look at Vegas and be like, yeah, he can do to Vegas what he did against Washington.
That's fair. You're not wrong.
So I like, it's kind of, to me, one of those, like, we say it all the time, floor option versus ceiling. Brissett is both the floor. Like, he's the floor. He definitely has the ceiling at Cincinnati. You expect Cincinnati to come out firing. Brissett's going to have to play from behind. That is where Brissett makes his money.
Yeah. We
also thought that was going to be the same thing this past week against Atlanta, and it wasn't. Because Atlanta said, we're going to keep this close. Well, what happens if Cincinnati turns into a fucking dud, and now we get average, mediocre Brissett? Jackson Dart squarely has the ceiling because it's a bad matchup against the Raiders.
You lose your matchup by 0.5 fantasy points.
There you go. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm perfectly fine trusting Jackson Dart this week against the Raiders.
Keenan, would we drop Chris Godwin to pick up Dylan Sampson just to play keep away? The opponent has Judkins, Michael Carter, K9. I'm going to be honest, Josh, of this grouping, I'm playing Carter and K9 over Sampson, but I say there's also no harm in playing keep away, and Chris Godwin is a droppable asset. So,
yeah, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable starting Chris Godwin, and if you think that your opponent wouldn't start Chris Godwin either, by all means, do it. There's also a chance that Dylan Sampson doesn't play. He's missed the last 2 weeks, so just keep that in mind as well. So.
As long as there's nobody you need, I think is the big thing. As long as there's nobody you need in this situation, but if you need something, do something.
Honestly, if Sampson plays, I would much prefer to start Sampson over Carter. So
really,
if I think that, then I'm sure somebody else might too.
There you go. Zach asking if you just drop Judkins straight up for Sampson. I don't think that's a terrible move. Clearly, I should have used Sampson in the article and not Raheim Sanders, but I didn't know if Sampson would play this week. He says there's also Spears, Sharbs, Estime, Singletary, Jordan Mason, Tyler Algier, Rashad White. I was like blanking on who White is, and the usual suspects. Josh, I prefer Spears, plain and simple.
I would as well.
So I'm going after Spears, even if Sampson is the player. The only way is if the Browns came out and said something crazy like Sampson's our guy this week. Like if they came out and said something like that, you got to make that decision today, and they're not going to say that. Let's be very clear. So
yeah.
Going back to our DK discussion, Zach says he thinks it's crazy how much money this is costing DK Metcalf. Yes, he should have been professional, but damn. And if it comes out what that fan said, if any of those words are true, it's very crazy. And we'll just
and that's the thing is like, because there's no like captured audio, it is basically a he said situation.
Yeah.
So there's no, like at that point, you as the professional need to be that. You need to be the professional. Like, this is your job as an entertainer. Like, you're going to get heckled. And no matter what somebody says to you, whether it's a racial slur, whether it's just, friendly trash talk, whatever, like, you have to keep your cool.
Yeah.
That's what is expected.
I mean, throwing a punch at a fan is just literally
and it's
the dumbest thing.
Stupid. 100% stupid.
Like, you have all the power in the world. Go to security and have that person kicked out. They just wasted their entire ticket price.
Yep. That's how you get back at a fan.
And that's what a lot of the NBA players have done, is they'll just have you escorted out, and then they get to laugh at you when you're getting kicked out of the stadium. Mm-hmm. Woods Girl, good morning. Sure wish I had started Purdy over Brissett. I'm just going to read her whole comment because this is just apologies all around. She'd be in the ship in both leagues. Genty on her bench. Drake London and Mike Evans underperformed. I wouldn't call Mike Evans underperforming. Mike Evans
did catch a touchdown, but
yeah. Drake London.
And this is what we were talking about pre-show yesterday, Ryan. Like, outside of the running back position, you had great scorers at the top. And then everybody else just fell flat. Like,
yeah, that's
it felt mediocre.
And you even talked about wide receiver for sure.
Yeah.
Running back was a little bit better.
Yeah, there was only, I think, 13 wide receivers at top 20 fantasy points. That is usually a much larger list.
Woods Girl, you and I are part of a group that I think is a pretty extensive group this week that is saying, man, I sure wish I had started X over Jacoby Brissett, because starting X over Jacoby Brissett probably gets you into the championship. I lost my game. You're going to hear this all day, by 0.6 fantasy points. And I cut Justin Herbert for Jacoby Brissett. We don't even need to talk about all the bad decisions that went into that, but it is what it is. I assume you're in the championship in at least one of your leagues. Hopefully we got you there. But it was a rough week for my 16 picks and a rough week for me in week 16. I suffer with you folks. I don't give advice that I don't take. I want to be very clear about that.
Facts.
And I know that's not why you brought this up, Woods Girl. I'm just saying. Though I will say, Josh, it was probably my most popular stream of the week video ever, with comments and everything. I'm going to get fucking flamed this week because I got so many people kicked out of the playoffs. The crown is heavy. Zach, Steelers, Giants, Rams, or Eagles. And Zach is fully aware how unprepared I am for these questions on a Tuesday, but let's see what we can find here,
Josh. Browns.
Yep, Steelers get the Browns.
Eagles get the Bills. You're not starting them.
Eagles get the Bills. Now, Giants get a decent matchup with Las Vegas. But I'm not playing the Giants defense under any circumstance. Josh, to me, and I've been telling this for folks for a while, you stick with the best defense here. The Rams get Atlanta. I don't care how good Kirk Cousins has looked. I'm going with the Rams here.
Yeah, I would probably go with the Rams too. I mean, I don't hate the Giants. They do rack up sacks.
I've brought this up before. I was going to say they rack up sacks, but they're when I last checked, the worst fantasy defense. I feel
like they were actually pretty good this past week against Minnesota, though. I know they had a return touchdown that was called back.
Let's see if I can find this quickly enough.
Yeah, the Giants were the defense too last week.
Okay, so there's a little crow for me to eat. But yeah,
But again, they scored a touchdown. They had an interception. They had 4 sacks. And that's what I'm saying. Like, don't sit here and tell me that they can't pick off Geno Smith. He leads the league in interceptions. That Raiders offensive line is awful. Yeah. They can very easily get 4 more sacks.
Yep.
I mean, sure, they can be beat by Bowers. They can be beat by Genty. Like, I'm fine sticking with the Rams, but don't discount the Giants. Because, again, when you have a good pass rush, when you have pass rushers like Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, you have Javon Holland making plays in the secondary, and they can get you fantasy points.
And there's probably some sack incentives there. I think we're probably overlooking the Steelers, if anything, here, because they've played really, really well as of late, and they get the fucking Browns.
They get the Browns, and then I don't know if TJ Watt's going to be back this week, though.
That's a good point.
And I think that ultimately impacts their pass rush probably more than anything.
Yeah. Now I have them ranked Rams, Steelers, Eagles, all in my top 10, even the Eagles against the Bills. And then I have the Giants not even in my top 20, but I'll have to take another look
flip
at that. So.
I would flip the Giants and Eagles.
Oh, wow. All right. I'll have to take a good look at that one. Again, my rankings get updated all throughout the week. Right now, though, it's Rams for me. And Josh, who are you? Are you going with the Giants?
Yep.
All right.
Go against the shitty quarterback.
Yep. Woods Girl gives us a little perspective here, says, don't you just hate it when your opponent gets the championship because of your boneheaded start-sit decisions?
Hey, been there, done that. It literally happened to me twice this week. I started Travis Kelce over Kyle Monangai, and I let the Bears hype with the wide receivers out convince me to put Colston Loveland in. So then I had to make a choice of starting one of the Steelers running backs instead of starting both of them. Those 2 moves in 2 different leagues, I make the championship in both of them with how
my friends.
So I'm right there with you, Woods Girl.
My friends, and I guess I should, my friends have been sending me pictures of Justin Herbert all morning just to remind me of the decision I made that got somebody into the championship. So also there with you. Perfect time to tune in, Sergio. Josh says, yes, pick up the Giants defense. And obviously it's something I need to take a good look at. CH Fantasy Labs throws out that Jacksonville is probably a great snag this week. And I agree with that completely. Colts are eliminated from the playoffs now. So you are looking at likely benching Rivers and letting Riley Leonard go back at it.
Well, and that to me is, I don't think that's a guarantee yet. Is it logical? 100% is logical. Yeah. But I don't know that, Rivers is just going to be like, sorry guys, I tried, but now I'm just going to go right off and spend time with my family. Like he came out with the idea that, you know what, I can still play in this league and I want to play. Now we just got to win. And he literally said that in the post-game interview too. Like, you know, it's good to be back out there. It's good to have fun, but we need wins. And so, like, to me, I think what he wants more than anything, yes, I think last night more than anything showed that he can still play. Like 270, 2 touchdowns from a 44-year-old. There are 20-somethings that aren't doing that right now.
That was a wild game.
You know? But he hasn't proven yet that coming back, he can win in the league. So I think over these next 2 weeks, he still has something to prove to himself, regardless of whether Steichen wants to be like, all right, let's see what we got with Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard was a 6th round pick. He's a 3rd string quarterback. Yeah. He has no future with the Colts, in my opinion. There's not anything that says guy needs to play for us.
I'll also throw out there.
Now, if they activate Anthony Richardson, that is different. That is different. That I could see them going to Richardson and saying, all right, Rivers, we appreciate you. We tried to make it work. It didn't work. But, I mean, you know, and Chris points this out. The Colts still technically have a chance.
Yeah, they just need Houston.
They're not ruled out just yet. So if they do get this win against Jacksonville, there's a chance there. So Phillip Rivers is still playing this.
Well, it all comes down to Houston. They can't have Houston win is the main one this week. So Epic Ape Fight, new name, awesome name. Who should we look at PPR this week, Josh? Ladd McConkey or Parker Washington? I only laugh because the pairing these two together would have never been a thought earlier in the season. Parker Washington went off, Josh, but I have a theory about this. I watched bits and pieces of that game, and Jacoby Myers saw way more of Patrick Surtain than what I expected him to. I don't think we're going to run into another situation where someone can lock up Jacoby Myers and open things up for Parker Washington. I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey, even though he's been disappointing as hell as of late. So
yeah, it's Ladd McConkey, and it's not close. Here's the thing. Parker Washington, you don't get points for last week. Going against the Colts, they don't have anybody that can shut down BTJ or Myers the way that Denver did.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner, maybe he's able to come back. Maybe he's not. We don't know yet. And if they do, okay, cool. You throw them on BTJ and Jacoby Myers just runs the show. Like, they went after Parker Washington because Denver didn't have anybody that could cover him.
Well, and Parker Washington's the other slot wide receiver. The slot has been feasting in this offense, and when you have Jacoby Myers being shut down by one of the best corners in the league, it's just going to help things out for Parker Washington. So.
Correct.
This is a great question by Keenan, Josh. Do we think Phillip Rivers is done, or do you think he tries to do shit next season? I think he's done. I think this was a favor.
Done, yeah. I think this was just it was a favor to Steichen because the team, got put into a precarious situation, losing their quarterback midway through a run. I mean, I think they want Daniel Jones. Like that was kind of the talk. And I think what's really going to be interesting is how teams will treat Daniel Jones's free agency coming off of the Achilles, especially after Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles, signing that big contract, looking like he was absolutely washed, but then actually looking like a competent quarterback this year. So you almost wonder if maybe they do some sort of 2-year prove it deal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's we know this next year is just going to be a bounce back year. We'll go through the struggles with you, but hey, we know that the year is going to come in 2027 kind of thing.
Who says he was just getting those insurance renewals for another 5 years. And so we'll see.
I love how everybody, the pundits, the media, whatever, people are joking about that. Nobody has once asked Phillip Rivers about that. I just want to see his reaction because I don't know if that was really going through his head, but I think it would be hilarious if somebody actually pointed that out to him.
I do want to the fact that he kicked his Hall of Fame for 5 years is just wild to me for what.
But it's not crazy though, because when you look at the quarterbacks that are coming up over the next 5 years,
it makes it a little easier for him.
It's going to make him a little easier because the next stretch of quarterbacks has been really mediocre. So by logic, then he looks a lot better going against that group of quarterbacks versus this group that put up a shit ton of numbers and actually won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Whereas Rivers did not.
Yeah. Let's move into the waiver section of the show, guys. We're going to move into Morse code. I'll remind you, if you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you want to hear it next week, well, too fucking bad, but you should still hit that subscribe button. We will have our Wednesday show going for the rest of the year. If you happen to be listening on our Apple or Spotify, hit that follow button. We do have super chat. We're going to get to every question on the show. We always do. And if you want to throw us a few bucks, we're certainly not going to be mad at it. We'll answer your question first. And if you want to keep talking fantasy, especially with some of the other great fantasy people, I use HoofTube as an example because he has been wildly available in our Discord and active. So jump into the Discord. It's completely free. Josh is dropping the link for you folks right now. And you get to talk with everybody at Club Fantasy, not just Josh and myself, though we also answer questions in there. We call this section Morse code. This is your 10 to 12 team league waivers. This is the cheat code. This is where you're going to win or possibly lose your league. I mentioned this last week and I mentioned it again this week. It only matters, can you start them this week? Literally the only question you should be asking yourself. Josh, when we look at quarterback, you have Jacoby Brissett. I'm cheating a little bit. He's only 40% available, but still. Jacoby Brissett gets Cincinnati. Trevor Lawrence gets Indianapolis. And the last person I want to put in this same category is Tyler Shuck, who gets the Tennessee Titans, because he had a nice week, first 300-yard game last week. These are the only three quarterbacks, Josh, that I'm looking at waivers and considering, and Trevor Lawrence is the winner after what Brock Purdy did to the Colts last night.
Well, not even that. Look at what Trevor Lawrence did to the Colts 2 weeks ago and then to Denver this past week. He's the QB1 since week 10. There's no reason he should be on waivers. Yeah. So go get Trevor Lawrence if he's available. He is
legitimately at 50%. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, like he should be I would wager in every consensus ranker's top 3 this week. That does not belong on the waiver wire. So unless you have Josh Allen, which quite honestly, I think I would start Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen this week. I would go that far.
I think that's fair. It's not an easy matchup for Josh Allen, and Trevor Lawrence is playing for his season, playing for his legacy. Like there's a lot going on with Trevor Lawrence, and he is. I've been making the same statement about Jacoby Brissett, but let's be clear. Jacoby Brissett was a floor play. Trevor Lawrence has been a ceiling play, best quarterback in the league for the last month. So,
yep. Go get Trevor Lawrence. Not close.
Yeah. When we move on to running backs, obviously we have the 3 guys I mentioned in the article, though apparently should have been 4 with Dylan Sampson, Tyjae Spears, Chris Rodriguez, Raheim Sanders, and then the people I added to this list, Josh, Michael Carter gets the Cincinnati Bengals, and then Blake Corum. Again, I give you all the credit in the world, Josh. 3 weeks ago, you said Kieran Williams is dealing with an injury. The Rams are winning. Why would they move away from this split? And they have not moved away from this split. Blake Corum continues to be an RB2, RB3 option.
Yeah, and the Rams get the Falcons. You can run on the Falcons.
Yep. I mean, even Michael Carter, he didn't do great last week, but he looked okay. And Blake Corum is better than Michael Carter.
So. Yeah, 100% he is. Yeah, and again, I mean, they're calling Devontae Adams week to week.
And they came out pretty well immediately and said they did not think he was playing this week. So
yeah, so again, like that opens up more opportunities for the running game. We saw it against Seattle. Like when they got down into the red zone, they didn't know what to do because they couldn't throw the ball to Devontae Adams. Yep. So, yeah, 100%. I like Corum. Like, he should not be this available. Carter against Cincinnati, it's a good matchup. I mean, they're allowing 24.4 points per game, 10th most since week 12. You know, again, it's just if they fall behind early, which can very well happen against Cincinnati, Carter's probably not going to be the most viable in that instance. So,
nope. But it's rough at running back, and it doesn't get much better at wide receiver as I slide over there. The people mentioned in the article, Matt Collins, Shamiri DK. I did throw Parker Washington in here. He gets Indianapolis. I think Alec Pierce after last night, though this incredibly changes if Phillip Rivers goes away against Jacksonville. And Josh, there was a name I did not think I needed to put in here, but now I think I do. Adam Thielen. Yup. He plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers now, Josh, and all of a sudden there's a big hole at wide receiver there, and Thielen had 5 targets this past week.
Yeah, and it's not crazy to think that because, you know, you lose DK Metcalf. Now it's everybody else has to step up, right? We know that Rodgers has a connection with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. We know that Thielen has a connection with Tyjae Spears. He's probably going to get involved.
Oh, certainly.
Thielen ultimately is more than likely going to become their number one because Rodgers loves his veterans. But you beat Cleveland by running.
100%.
The last three, or since week 12, they're allowing almost 31 fantasy points per game to the running back position, the third most. So if that's the case and it's in Cleveland, why would you even throw the football?
It's a really good point. And the weather's starting to turn in Northeast Ohio. And
lean on Warren, lean on Gainwell. They carried you against Detroit.
Yep.
Let them continue to carry you in a matchup that, quite frankly, you need to have to secure the division.
Huh. I think that's fair. I just wanted to throw his name out there because it was a wild moment to even put him on this list.
No, I agree. And again, and this is what it boils down to. It's the same reason why we're talking about Rocket Sanders and Dylan Sampson. Like injury, suspension, these kinds of things happen. So now it becomes, well, shit, now I've got a hole in my lineup. Do I trust one of my bench guys or their immediate fill-in?
And then, Josh, I haven't even read your notes, so I'll just let you. Do we believe Parker Washington is a trap? Does he have a little bit of floor this week?
Of course, he has a little bit of a floor because of how they use him.
Yeah.
But, they throw to Travis Etienne.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence likes throwing to Brenton Strange, and the Colts can't guard the tight end to save their life. You've got BTJ. You've got Jacoby Myers. So Parker Washington, what? That's now the fifth option in this offense.
Yikes.
That, again, you do not get points for last week. They were able to shut down BTJ and Jacoby Myers. They shifted the coverage. Surtain, Moss, Jahdae Barron, they've got good corners there. Now it becomes nobody's paying attention to Parker Washington because he's not one of the big four guys there.
Yeah.
So, again, you can throw on the Colts because they don't have a good defense and they're missing a lot of key pieces in that defense, especially at the cornerback position. But that means they can't cover the guys that the Jaguars actually want to feature.
Yeah.
So Washington is going to take a back seat as a result, and you're probably only going to get 6 points from them.
Yep. Looking at the tight ends, Josh, two very solid names at the top, one of which I kind of broke the rules to include a little bit. That would be Dalton Schultz. I say this because he's only 40% available. He gets the Chargers. Brenton Strange, obviously a favorite of ours, Indianapolis. Jawan Johnson, very safe option at Tennessee. And then there's Taysom Hill. It truly just depends on how you believe they're going to utilize Taysom Hill. I am of the belief, and this was me chatting with Hoove in the chat a little bit, that this was a showcasing of Taysom Hill for possibly his last game in New Orleans. I am going to go with other options, but I'm not going to be mad at folks if they find a house for Taysom Hill this week, Josh. Certainly, me and Austin talked about this in DFS tournaments. Taysom Hill could be a fun option. But if you're looking for volume and upside after what we saw last night, Josh, I think it's Brenton Strange.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and again, this really boils down to the Colts could not cover George Kittle, who's very involved in that San Francisco offense. Yeah. Brenton Strange, when he's on, when he's healthy, and when he's playing, he's very involved. Like Trevor Lawrence loves him, and they clearly love him in Jacksonville as well. They can't cover him. Why are you not trotting out Brenton Strange? Like, to me, your two best Dalton Schultz, I think, is a great volume play. Tight ends can be hit or miss against the Chargers, depending on how they want to deploy Derwin James. But he's so involved in that Houston offense that really he's their best red zone option. And they're not a good red zone offense. So there's that possibility of a touchdown. But he works so well between the 20s that he can at least give you that 4 for 40 floor. And sometimes that safe route is the way that you need to go at the tight end position. And Juwan Johnson being the second target in that Saints offense, great floor.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the tight end 2 this past week.
9 targets, I think, this past week.
So, and again, they're not afraid to throw it. You can throw on Tennessee. And Tyler Shuck is not a third string quarterback. So they're going to do just fine. And then this whole Taysom Hill thing. Can I just tell you, I saw somebody on Twitter was talking about in reference to Taysom Hill for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Jesus, no.
And I said, what? Because, everything came out yesterday, and I talked about it on Monday's show about
1,000.
First player in NFL history to have 1,000 passing, 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving over a career. I'm actually kind of glad I saw this because I did not know this. To be eligible for the Hall of Fame, you have to have at least one Pro Bowl appearance and or All-Pro selection.
Interesting.
I didn't know that. So this has never happened for Taysom Hill, so you can cross him off of the ballot.
Yeah.
Which he never belonged on the ballot to begin with because he's just a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly.
But I found that interesting.
All I wanted to end this section with is if you learned anything from Trevor Lawrence last week, it's that he will take the option the defense gives to him. And Indianapolis appears to be giving tight end based on what we saw from George Kittle.
Yeah.
Back to the chat. Zach with a kicker question. Would it be dumb to drop Brandon Aubrey for Cam Little? He's facing a guy who can score a lot of his players' points. He's facing a big week. Josh, my problem with this is you like Cam Little because the leg's long. Brandon Aubrey is just as long as Cam Little. Over the last, I actually looked this up for this question. Over the last 5 weeks, Josh, and I used 5 weeks because you pointed out how good Lawrence has been. Little is averaging 10 fantasy points per game. Aubrey is averaging 12 fantasy points per game. Aubrey is the better play through and through.
Yeah, and I mean it's also a really good matchup against the Commanders. What I do find interesting is, because it's such a good matchup for the Cowboys, maybe they're not settling for field goals. So then it becomes, does Aubrey actually make sense, or is he really just a floor play? You know what I mean? But again, Jacksonville has been scoring a ton of freaking touchdowns.
Yeah.
Colts can't stop anybody.
So what's to say that doesn't
how's that any different, right?
Yeah.
So, no, stick with a better kicker. It's Brandon Aubrey.
George, Toilet Bowl Finals. Hopefully this means that you're looking to win the consolation bracket and not that you've lost throughout, because I worry for you there. But Joe Burrow versus Drake May, Josh. I'm not mad at Joe Burrow this week, but I think Drake May has a lot more to play for in a very winnable matchup. You have to start Drake May this week.
I mean, flip a coin.
Yeah, there's also no wrong answer here. But again, Joe Burrow's last week was easily predictable. I think Drake May's this week is almost as equally predictable, especially if Travion Henderson misses. They'll have to lean less on the run. So
yeah, starting Ramondre doesn't feel great for fantasy purposes. I feel like Ramondre could actually make the Jets defense look like the 85 Bears.
Okay. Don't say that.
So yeah, I feel like they might need to lean on May, but also too, like, it kind of feels like May could do just enough to in the first half and be like, all right, we're gonna sit. I still would lean Burrow here.
That's actually concerning. That's a good point. That if they're up 35, do they sit Drake May? George brings up his brother lost in the semifinal matchup because Travion got hurt and lost by 0.06. Heartbreaking at one point last night, because again, this is all about me. I was down 0.07, but again, I lost by 0.6. But 0.06, Josh, I would be in shambles today. I would have canceled the show.
Yeah, the Jonathan Taylor touchdown for that one stung because Hutch had JT.
Yeah. And he had
he had Kittle and Juwan Jennings. So of course, once Kittle goes out, they start throwing to Juwan Jennings, and I'm just like, like I'd survived the Kittle touchdown, the Jennings touchdown, because I had Purdy. Literally, I had the QB1 and the QB2 on the week with Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence in that league.
Yep.
Travis fucking Kelce screwed me. So mad.
Trone in my exact spot, but he got the dub because the other guy didn't also have Michael Pittman, which is what cost me my dub. So congratulations, Trone.
Into the championship. Love to hear it.
Is that your 14-0 team, Trone? Or no, sorry, that's Quincy, not
got
Trone. Never mind. My apologies, Trone. But congratulations regardless. Morning, Jeff. We actually answered this question already, and I don't think either of us are changing our answer. The answer is Brenton Strange, though there is some interesting floor play for Juwan Johnson.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Back to Trone. Has Jackson Dart. Too scared to risk it. You're damn right you are. Also has Bo Nix, but wondering how much he'll have to do against Kansas City. Would you drop Dart for Shuck and then stack Shuck with the two Saints pass catchers, Olave and Juwan Johnson? Josh,
that's a lot of reliance on the Saints offense.
I'm going Bo Nix in this situation. I'm not.
Yeah, I would go Bo Nix. I Not mad about Shuck. I think Olave and Juwan Johnson will do just fine. But when you put all your eggs in one basket and Tennessee decides to turn it up to 11 like they did against Kansas City against the third string quarterback, now you've just tanked yourself.
Yeah.
Offer yourself a little bit of variety here. I'm fine going Bo Nix.
I also think Sean Payton is petty enough that he wants to smack Kansas City while they're down.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. Quincy says, number 2 team did make it to the finals. Congratulations. He said he tried to tell the guy, whoever loses, they get $200. He told me no. He wants the whole 1,000, and he let him know when you get greedy is when you lose it all. And this is where I've always been, Josh, with pot splitting is don't get greedy. So
I don't care because first off, I know in our Dynasty League Championship, Joe's not going to offer me a split.
No, certainly not.
And I would tell him to fucking shove it. So
Quincy, if you are still in the chat, the world wants to know, did your undefeated team make it? I think you actually told us yesterday they did. Yeah. So I think we're good there, George. But Quincy, if you're in the chat, let the world know. Following up on a previous question, Zach says he is going to get Spears and claims in for Spears and Sampson, see what he gets. But would we start either of them over Hampton or Harvey? And I would not. So, yeah. Back to the defense, Josh. Saints, Giants, Steelers, and Lions. I know you're in on the Giants. I think in this situation, I'm going with the Steelers, though.
I mean, you can flip a coin there. I do think the Saints against Tennessee is interesting as well.
Nice play. Yeah.
Just because Cam
So
Ward
is Detroit versus Minnesota, to be honest. So
also true. I mean, the Giants were the defense too against that same Minnesota offense. So
yeah.
And the Lions are hanging on for dear life in the playoff hunt. Give me the best pass rush, and that's the Giants.
Yep. I would love to see TJ Watt back. I'm still going the Steelers regardless as of this moment. Bizbox King, sup fellas, needing help to see if London if London goes in the starting lineup over JMO, Michael Wilson, Ladd, or Terry McLaurin. Josh, I'm not playing London again. It looked bad last week. There's this history of players coming back from PCL, Brock Bowers and Ricky Pearsall, and underperforming. It looks like London's falling into that same issue.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to sit London here.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Terry McLaurin's going to be just fine. Now, this is what I will say. You could probably end up getting the same from London or Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin could very well have a third-string quarterback throwing to him. I would almost rather take the chance with Drake London over Terry McLaurin.
I'll give you
that. Would be the only choice I would make there.
Quincy did go 16-0. Congratulations. Now go win that championship, my friend. What do we got here? Oh, didn't mean to pop that back up. How do we feel about Diggs going into championship week? Josh, you touched on this a little bit earlier. I'll give you a chance to repeat yourself.
Yeah. I mean, if he plays, cool. It's the Jets. He may not have to do much. So it just kind of feels like they'll get everybody else involved and just kind of make sure that Diggs is healthy, that he did have a health scare. He left in the middle of that game.
Yeah.
I think this could very well be a week that we see a lot of Kyle Williams, potentially Mac Hollins. They'll get the tight ends involved. Because again, like this is the Jets. They don't want to risk their best players getting hurt in. I don't want to call it a meaningless matchup, but it should be an easy one to win. Let's be honest. They're going against a third string quarterback. So
yep.
I would be very hard pressed to trust Stephon Diggs this week.
All right. Quincy's breaking down one of his matchups for us. Opponent has Gibbs, he has CMC. Opponent has Bucky, he has Chase Brown. Opponent has Baker, he has Trevor. Or no, Trevor's on waivers. I'm sorry. Go get Trevor, by the way. Opponent has JSN, he has Mike Evans. Opponent has T-Mac, he has Jacoby Myers. Opponent has Fannin, he has Kittle. He does have Monangai, Swift, and RJ Harvey. All in all, Josh, I don't know who Quincy's quarterback is here. I like Quincy's team better, but I do think you need to keep away with Trevor Lawrence and probably start Trevor Lawrence as we've talked about. So
yeah, I'm wondering if this is the Brissett Lamar team that Quincy can
from earlier
asked about.
If that is this, go get Trevor Lawrence, start him, and you win. And I see my camera fucking froze again. Yep. I do not understand what is going on here. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see here. On to the next question, and then I'll get my ugly face off of the screen. Parker Washington over Flowers, McConkey, or Quinshon Judkins, Josh?
No.
Okay, well, if you're just going to answer it that quick.
Well, maybe Booty, but
yeah,
again,
you got to pay attention
and that's
to
just
that.
because he may not play, but you're not starting him over Flowers, and you're certainly not starting him over McConkey. You don't get points for last week, Zach.
Josh, I'm paying attention here. I think my camera freezes at noon. There might be something to this. I'm not even joking. I'm
you
starting
get 60 minutes and that's it.
Well, I'm wondering if it's just noon though, because we go over an hour on the Wednesday shows and it doesn't freeze. Crazy. I think there might be something about noon. Anyway, he knows we like Brenton Strange. This is Quincy again. But are we okay having Trevor Lawrence, Jacoby Myers, and Brenton Strange in the same lineup where you can go Dalton Schultz instead? I am, Josh. I think Strange and Schultz are the same player. I'm not worried about being too invested in this situation in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this up kind of, over investing in the Saints. They're a so-so offense. Jaguars offense right now is firing on all cylinders. I'm okay triple stacking from a good offense.
Yeah. Frosty, welcome to the show. I see you jumped in late. Glad to have you back. Needs one running back and two flex. Ramondre Stevenson, Woody Marks, Emmanuel Wilson if Jacobs is out. Also has Kyle Pitts that he can fit into the flex, but he is starting Drake London if that changes any stance on Pitts. So, Josh, let's start with the running back. I know you're not a big fan of Ramondre, but he might only be the only healthy back of this list. So,
well, there's that. Packers get the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens just concussed TreVeyon Henderson. Yeah, I think I would probably lean Ramondre over Emmanuel Wilson. Woody, I even if he was healthy, I wouldn't trust him against the Chargers.
That's a great point.
Honestly, he's got the easiest matchup, and these are all backups, so I would ride with Ramondre.
I'd have to.
In the flex, Pitts and Wilson at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say Pitts and Wilson because
honestly, I kind of want to see what your other wide receivers are because I might be trending towards starting them over Drake London.
Yeah, there may be a waiver option out there that you just move off of Wilson, but I guess you can't move off of Wilson yet till you know what's going on with Jacobs.
Yeah.
We Buy Homes. Welcome back to the show. Appreciate all the help. We appreciate you tuning in. Came up short last week, 2 points. We feel it. If Pinheiro would have hit the 60-yarder, man, We Buy Homes, you just came in and poured some salt in my wound.
Pinheiro fucked a lot of people missing that kick.
In case you didn't see the earlier part of the show, I lost by 0.6 and had Pinheiro as well. So I am right there with you. It's a terrible Tuesday. We move on. Provision Barbecue. New name. Welcome to the show. You sound delicious. Bo Nix or Trevor Lawrence.
God, if your camera is on, I want to clip that one.
Definitely Trevor Lawrence. We have been high on that the whole show. We are leaning on that Trevor Lawrence might be our QB1 this week.
Yeah, he's the QB1 since week 10.
And he gets a very beatable matchup as we just saw Brock Purdy drop 5 tutties on this team.
Yep.
So Frosty, not sure if Henderson will play or Jacobs. Oh, you're just saying, yeah, we're in that exact same situation. Yep. I think Henderson is out. I don't know enough about Jacobs at this point. So
correct.
Do we like the Texans or would we go with a streamer? Josh, as it stands, the Texans are my number 8 defense against the Chargers. When we're looking at streamers, there's not many ahead of them. The Patriots might be out there. The Jags might be out there. The Browns get interesting. I truly think Myles Garrett goes off this week against the statue that is Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to say, how you remember when Brett Favre phoned it in to get Strahan that sack for the record?
Yeah.
I wonder if Rodgers might do the same for Myles Garrett.
Interesting.
Just the theory. Kind of old, grizzled veteran. We know Garrett's going to, he's going to get it eventually. Let's be honest. I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Interesting.
But again, that's one sack. I'm not rolling.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Oh, yeah, you didn't really answer the question there, Josh. Is the Giants? Would you go the Giants over Houston, Josh? I would not.
I would be tempted.
I was going to say, you're on that defense.
I would be tempted. I'm very on that defense. Justin Herbert's playing really well. I mean, even returning the touchdown this past week, Houston was defense 4. They get sacks. The Chargers offensive line is terrible. I would still lean the Texans over the Giants. Yeah.
There you go. I did move the Giants up to 10, Josh, in my early rankings through talking to you today. Trone, Starting Olave and Nico at wide receiver. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Flex decision is a bit tougher. Devonta Smith, Kenny Gainwell, Jalen Warren, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, or pick up Corner Wilson. Josh, I love Kenny Gainwell this week. If you watched any of that broadcast last week, they were continually talking about how he is a receiver playing running back. Well, guess what they need him to do this week? Catch the football out of the backfield against the Browns in a game that the Steelers need to win. I'm going Kenny Gainwell here.
I was going to say, I kind of want to start both Warren and Gainwell.
Yeah. Big run ability for the big run ability.
You can run on Cleveland. Like they have been a sieve as a run defense.
And Fantasy Labs brings that up in the chat as well.
And also too, I like the upside of Devonta Smith as well. The Eagles are on the verge of having, and again, this has been a quote tumultuous offensive season for the Eagles, and they just got a 1,000-yard rusher. Jalen Hurts has set a new career high in passing touchdowns, and they've got 2 receivers on the verge of 1,000 yards. This is their statement game against Buffalo. So I would not be shocked one bit if both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith get their 1,000 yards this week against the secondary that you can throw on.
Yeah, I mean, you hope to see it, and certainly.
Sean, I want to know who your starting running backs are. Because honestly, I want to start both Warren and Gainwell here.
Yeah, it's playing both against the Browns defense. Not a bad call.
Not a bad call
whatsoever. We Buy Homes non-PPR needs a flex and a wide receiver. Terry McLaurin, Travion Henderson, who you're probably not playing. Omari Hampton, Jay Jettis, Stephon Diggs, Chris Rodriguez, Michael Carter off of waivers. So let's start with the wide receiver, Josh. You got McLaurin, Diggs, Jefferson. Did Jefferson show you enough, Josh? Are you okay with playing him again? Hey,
I guess the Lions. Not that well, it's the problem is you want a touchdown. It's standard, right?
Yep.
I don't trust Diggs enough. I don't trust Diggs enough. I really don't trust McLaurin. If I know that Marcus Mariota plays, it's Terry McLaurin for me. For the starting wide receiver.
Yeah, but when we're talking
if Josh Johnson ends up starting for Washington, I'm going to pivot to Jefferson and say a prayer. That's where I would go. And for the flex, it's Hampton for me.
Yep. We are actually on the same page, Josh. This was my gut reaction. You took a little bit longer to get there, but yeah, it's Jettison Hampton.
Well, sometimes I want to talk it out just to give the audience.
I'm not trying to bust balls, Josh. Yeah. I'm sorry if it came out that way.
No.
If you talk it out, I keep the show moving. That's been the rhythm of this show for weeks. So, Woods Girl, full PPR wide receiver question. Tedero McMillan, Mike Evans. The answer is Mike Evans. Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs. Pick 2. To me, it's the first 2. Give me Mike Evans and new Mike Evans.
Mike Evans and new Mike Evans.
But you made your case for Devonta Smith. So
I do like Smith this week. I think there's a lot of upside there. Mike Evans right now, he's the only Bucs pass catcher you're trusting. I want Tedero McMillan so badly to be a set it and forget it wide receiver. Every single time he pops, I feel like he falters the next week.
Yeah.
Because there's just no consistency in that Panthers offense.
Exactly.
And I know if I say pivot to Devonta Smith, McMillan's going to have another 20-point game. And I know that if I say McMillan and Evans, McMillan's going to have a 5-point game. So, Woods Girl, take that into consideration when I say McMillan and Evans.
Whatever he says, play the opposite. Just don't tell the fantasy gods. Quincy said, what do we think about A.J. Barner against the Panthers? Josh, I did immediately move him up my list as a streaming option this week. I'm not quite there with him yet. So he's falling into my top 20-ish. I would need to be pretty desperate. I would go Taysom Hill over AJ Barner.
I don't know if I go that far, but I'm also very anti.
I mean, as I have been as well. So
no, I mean, when you only have one good pass catching wide receiver, you have to get creative. That's why I think AJ Barner is doing as well as he is, because they just don't have anybody else to throw to. So yeah, I mean, if you feel like you're desperate, go for it. I just think there are better streamers than AJ Barner.
Yeah, Panthers can certainly be had by the tight end. It's just competing with just Jackson Smith and Jigba makes life very hard for any pass catcher. So.
Yep.
Trone starting running backs are CMC and Barkley. Wants to know, how does DK being suspended affect Gainwell as a pass catcher? Josh
shoots him to the moon, but you're not starting him over CMC or Barkley. Nothing. I was gonna say add. Maybe Barkley.
Nah, not this
but
one.
I don't know that I'd go that far.
Not against Buffalo. They can be run on.
Yeah.
Joel points out that Detroit is starting corners who were working for the Manning car wash.
He's not wrong.
So he loves Jettis this week. Niori, welcome to the show. A little late. Glad you're here. Tyler Warren or Brenton Strange for the championship. Josh, it's Brenton Strange.
It's Brenton Strange. Yep.
Yeah, Niori, you're late to the show. We are very high on Brenton Strange, especially after what George Kittle did to the Indianapolis Colts last week. Get your questions in. This is going to be our last run of questions after I get to Mayday, and the deep waivers. Josh, we don't need to probably spend a ton of time on Mayday this week. For quarterback and tight end, basically I said if you're not starting them, drop them. For quarterback, I put a note to be ready for regret because it's what I did for Justin Herbert last week, and I'm full of regret. At running back, these are players, Josh, first of all, David Montgomery is rostered in 90% of leagues, and I know we cuff your running backs. You don't need to cuff Jahmyr Gibbs for week 17. It's time to move on from David Montgomery. Chuba Hubbard, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Kamani Vidal, all out there in about 50% of leagues. At wide receiver, Devontae Adams probably not playing this week. Rashee Rice, even if he does play, I don't want him. Amika Ibuka has been droppable. This, Josh, the wide receiver list, there's a little controversy here because I'm also saying Marvin Harrison because I think he's a distraction, and Xavier Worthy. If I don't want Rashee Rice, I don't want Xavier Worthy. So, Josh, I put a lot of big names this week, but it all comes down to I'm not playing them in week 17, so I'm fine with dropping them.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to. I mean, what's the point of hanging on to somebody? Like, they're not hyping up your locker room. This is a fictitious game that we play.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. There's also something to be said for, we joke about the fantasy gods all the time. Devontae Adams got you there. Devontae Adams got you to where you are, and you're just going to toss him to the side like he's fucking roadkill. Okay. Those gods will smite you. I promise you.
You're not wrong, and I'm with it. So, yeah, I do not. You know what? I'm crossing
now, Rashee Rice fucked you for half the season anyway, so I don't really care about that.
You know what? Look, I'm putting a line through Devontae Adams' name right now because actually I'm just deleting him altogether.
Delete him altogether. Don't give the gods any ammunition, Ryan.
I have 2 championships still alive. I cannot anger the gods whether I have Devontae Adams or not. Hit like. Hit subscribe. This is the last episode of WireTapped. However, we still have 2 more episodes of our Monday show, and our Wednesday show goes on every week except for week 18. DFS will get you through the playoffs. Deep sea diving. Josh, I am playing some deeper leagues, so I understand that there's going to be some different names you need to consider. At quarterback, Josh, and we'll just go this position by position. You can tell me if I'm setting up for traps here. I think Sam Darnold looked good last week. I do think traveling across the country to Carolina is going to be a little tougher, but it's also a revenge game. And then I put Phillip Rivers, though I'm clearly backing off of Phillip Rivers with everything we've talked about on the show today. So
yeah, I mean, I don't really hate Phillip Rivers. Again,
does he even play?
I think he plays. I'm just putting that out there. I think he plays. Sam Darnold. God, I'm gonna tell you what. After that big win against the Rams, this feels like a trap going to Carolina. 100% feels like a trap. This is the type of game that Carolina wins, and we've seen it all season long.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
And so Panthers
revenge
are
game
home.
Or not, this feels like a massive trap for Sam Darnold.
At running back, clearly Dylan Sampson belongs on this list because he belonged in the list up. But Josh, this is where I would still look at Audric Estime. He didn't look awful last week. And Samaje Perine getting a lot of run for this Bengals offense.
Yeah. Perine definitely. Estime, no. The Titans have been a good run defense.
That's actually a great point.
And Estime, quite frankly, has not looked good.
Justin Simmons just eating up the center of every line that he's on. At wide receiver, Josh, there's some interesting names. Adonai Mitchell, obviously still the number one. Calvin Austin, though Adam Thielen is probably more important. Austin only had 1 target this past week. Josh Downs shows up last week if you still have Phillip Rivers. And then, Josh, there's Trey Tucker. We've been hit or miss with Trey Tucker, but after watching a lot of that Raiders game, he is the number 1 wide receiver.
He's the only option they have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they decide they want to actually use Ashton Genty, Trey Tucker is not going to be much of anything, but it's very much a maybe not kind of thing. But you can throw on the Giants.
Yeah,
like Tucker's their number 2 option. Let's be honest.
He's their number 1 receiver. He's their number 3 option.
Yeah, well, you can make the argument he's number 2. I mean, they only threw the ball twice to Ashton Genty. So.
Yeah, he just happened to take 1 for 60. That's a really good point.
Exactly.
Not a volume play.
Tucker, volume play, but they use him so much in the shorter intermediate that unless he's able to break one, you're not getting a good week. So
and it's truly not his game. He is a fast receiver. He's not suited for how they're using him. You know who's great for that? Jacoby Myers.
Well, and then they got Jack Besh involved.
Yeah, I saw Besh.
And again, this is that time of year where let's see what these rookies can do. Trey Tucker, to me, he's a Jag. He does not have a future beyond his first contract in Vegas.
Absolutely.
So you spent a 2nd-round pick on Jack Besh. You spent a 4th-round pick on Dante Thornton. Those are the guys that you ultimately need to get involved because you need to know how do they fit in this offense, even if this isn't the offense they go forward with. How do they fit with Bowers and Genty? Because those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. And then Josh at tight end. This is where AJ Barner comes in these deep leagues. I still put Darren Waller on here. He obviously didn't pop last week, but now you get another week of Quinn Ewers. And then Josh, Mike Gesicki. Arizona has struggled against tight ends. We saw Kyle Pitts have another good week last week. This is a game where typically we stay away from Gesicki if the wide receivers are healthy, but I think he could maybe sneak into the end zone for a deeper league this year.
I saw something on Twitter today. There was a Cardinals fan account, and they posted a picture of Jonathan Gannon, and they issued an apology to Philadelphia Eagles fans because we were right. Gannon sucks.
That's fucking hilarious.
So this could very easily be the type of game where Cincinnati goes up, Joe Burrow throws 303 touchdowns, and if that's the case, Gesicki's going to be involved.
Yep.
So
back to the chat for the last time this season. Zach, Quinshon Booty, Lad McConkey, Woody Marks, Tyjae Spears, Dylan Sampson for flex. Josh, this is still McConkey for me. I'm going to stick with the healthy guy and a healthy offense.
Yep. And a game that they need to win, by the way.
Chris Molina looking for that early gut reaction. Brian Thomas Jr. or Woody Marks. Josh, obviously, there's the hesitation with Marks if he plays.
You don't want to play them against the Chargers, plain and simple.
So
Chargers run defense is legit. I want nothing to do with Woody Marks.
So let's go back to the heart of this question then. Brian Thomas Jr., Wan'Dale Robinson, or Jaden Reed?
Not Jaden Reed. I think Wan'Dale is the floor play. BTJ is the ceiling play. That's how I would look at it.
I think that's a fair analysis. You just hope the Giants,
especially it's full PPR and it's a good matchup.
Yeah,
I want Wan'Dale.
They just have to throw the ball more than 15 times this
and that's what it boils down to. Yeah, like what version of this Giants offense do we get where they actually let Jackson Dart play quarterback? Or if they want to look like a 1940s football team. Yeah.
Wan'Dale Robinson's my king, so he would be my pick as well because it's full PPR. I hope for a better day. Please tell me Trey McBride saves my week and gets me my 3rd place money back. Josh, I said Trey McBride is about to win so many people 3rd place this week with his 30-point output that he's about to put.
I was going to say, even if I get a pedestrian Trey McBride game, I beat Hutch, and I'm so fucking pissed.
Same. I have everybody, and they all lost for me. Which defense special teams do we like this week? Lions, Chargers, Bucks, or Rams?
Josh, just the way you said that.
Yeah, I'm a sad guy today. I'm just a sad guy. Josh, I'm going with the Rams here. I'm going to play on the talent of the defense, and it's not a bad matchup.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And Quincy, wrapping up the show. Not playing Rice, or would you drop him for Purdy to make sure your opponent doesn't get Purdy? This is exactly what I would do.
Rice would be that landmine, right? He's the guy that you drop, and everybody's like, "Oh, you drop Rashee Rice! Oh my god, I got to start him." It's a 3rd string quarterback. Yep. They're not. You are fine dropping Rashee Rice.
Drop Rashee Rice, and this is the kind of weird week where you may have 5 quarterbacks on your bench, and that
Keep
is not
good
scummy.
quarterbacks out of your opponent's hands.
Yep, that is not scummy. That is how you play. Caesar, great shows all year. We appreciate you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Josh and I started this show last year. It has taken off. It's easily our most popular show. I hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. There will be no sideline banter tonight. Correct. So the next time Club Fantasy will be live is me and Josh tomorrow night for the Christmas Eve show to get you your Week 17 championships. Make sure you tune in for that. DFS shows are dropping. I'm guessing no sneaky flex this week as well, Josh, correct?
No sneaky flex as well. Yep. Stay tuned to the Women in Fantasy Football Twitter. That's at women_FF. The girls are going to drop some videos for their favorite flex plays.
Perfect. I forgot they did that for Thanksgiving, and it was the best thing absolutely ever. Again, for the final time this season, we appreciate each and every one of you. You can follow Club Fantasy on all the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. Get into the Discord, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good luck on waivers. Good luck in your championship. And Terry Wagner, if you happen to tune in this week, I still hate you.